There's no XG at the G-Tech this weekend as Forest battered the bees back into their hive. Gosh, that's not bad. And I suspect soured the honeypot. Do you like that one, Will? No, probably a bit too dad jokey for you. But no, look, we've beaten Brentford this weekend. We're in the top 4 for Christmas. We've got Statsman Will and Chief Ryan from Barstool Sports and Pitch Picks as well on today's episodes. It's going to be an absolute whopper of an episode. Welcome, Chief. Welcome, Will. I'll do a quick Forest all over the world, and then we'll jump into what is going to be a magnificent Christmas for Forest fans. We've got Simon in the Bahamas, putting the kid's bedroom under construction as he puts the Forest crest on the wall next to their bunk beds, is what it seems like. We've got Wayne all the way down in, I think it's the Phi Islands in Thailand, or the Phi Islands in Thailand. And finally, we've got Matt, our co-host, who is in Thailand. He's not here today, but a big shout out to Matt, who's down in Thailand. He rang me last night. He was delighted with the Brentford victory. So that's our Forest all over the world section. Chief, you've just watched the Bears lose, unfortunately. You told me you were reading a book pretty much through the second half. You were that bored. But Forest this weekend, we didn't disappoint, did we?
All of my joy in the weekend happens before noon on a Saturday. So I have happy Saturdays and sad Sundays, and I'll take that trade. So Forest have been incredible. That going on the road to Brentford, everyone was making such a big deal about their home record. They hadn't lost. I mean, you go into Anfield, you go into the Stamford Bridge, get a result, go into the Amex. This team is road warriors. So I think Brentford's kind of a paper tiger at home. If you had looked at who else they played, it was Wolves and Palace early. They hadn't really played anybody. This was a real team, a Champions League team coming in there, got the full 3 points, and never really looked that uncomfortable apart from a few great saves from Matt Sells.
That's true.
I do have a bone to pick with you, though.
Me?
Yes, with you.
Wow. Okay, here we go. Let's
get right to it. I'm looking for the graphic, because I tweeted out what would be a good amount of points after this stretch of games. And I want to say it started with the Arsenal game. And I said over under 12.5 points for this stretch of 7 games. And you said over 12, we're talking title hunt. I'll take 7. We're at 12 right now with 1 game to go in that stretch. We had Tottenham coming in on Boxing Day. So if they win on Boxing Day, you better just be banging the drum for a title charge, because we smashed the 12.5 that I laid out.
I will take the hit on that. And I will take the hit on it purely because in a private group with Will and Matt, my co-host, I said, if we beat Brentford and Spurs after the Villa game, I said, we are going to be talking about a title challenge. And I know that may sound ridiculous to everyone, but it doesn't matter if it's a 2-week title challenge, a 1-month title challenge, or for the rest of the season. If we beat Spurs, look, Liverpool have been brilliant. We have to talk about it. We have to dream, right, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say though, Ryan, that Chris is, like, behind the scenes, one of the most negative people about Forest.
Don't screw me over.
Season so much, but I will say this, right? Back in the Championship days, probably we got into about September, and he was talking about relegation battles.
Sorry, hang on. Every Forest fan goes through the things that I go through, and I use the group with you and Matt as a sounding board for the that we've had to deal with over the years. So you're doing what Matt did. You're bringing it up. I've been very positive this season, though. Have I not?
I have to take the role of Matt because Matt's not here, so I have to come in. I have to give you as much as I can, basically.
True, but I've been good. I've been good, haven't I? This season, in general.
You've been a lot positive this season. I'll grant you that.
And I will say,
but not positive enough.
Yeah, and when you were on Forest Focus the last time, which game was that after? Villa, and you were the one saying, "Hey, it's okay to dream," and so I will give you credit for that. But we're here now. Like that stretch, which it did start with Arsenal, and I think it was a 7-game stretch where it was like with City and United and Spurs, Brentford, who has been good. Like, what's a good amount of points for Forest? I said 12.5. And you're like, well, everyone was like, hey, yo, pump the brakes. Like, let's not get our heart broken. my heart's on my sleeve. It is outside. I'm wearing it outside my body with this team. It's the only team I have left that I have any hope. I need something to grab onto. Forest is it, and it's been an incredible season. We're 4th place at Christmas. Like, who would have thought?
I know it's unbelievable, and you know what? We're going to talk a little bit about both your and Will's early season points predictions and see if we're going to recalibrate them. We'll chat about that at the end. But right now, I want to just sort of bask in a little bit. I'm sat on the couch next to my brother, who's an Arsenal fan earlier, next to my cousin as well, and we're watching Liverpool play Spurs, this ping pong game of goals all over the place. And I said, Will, like, you know, you're an Arsenal fan. Obviously, Jesus has done well this week, but would you take Chris Wood? And I'm trying to and he's going, what are you talking about? Like, he's still got that Arsenal mindset of, oh, what do you mean Chris Wood? I go, well, listen, Chris Wood's one of the top goal scorers next to sort of Palmer, Erling Haaland. And he's like, Erling Haaland in the same sentence. And I'm going, look, and I'm just basking in it, and I'm trolling, and I'm making him take the bait. And I think that's what this is all about. When you're top 4 for Christmas, I'm going to a lads' dinner tomorrow. 60% of them are Man United fans. Like, we just get to enjoy it. We're 9 points ahead of them at the moment. And it's not an accident. Like, let's not pretend like this is an accident. We're nearly at Christmas Day. Forest have won 7 in 10 games. And we've righted a lot of the wrongs of the past. And I suppose what I want to ask you, Chief, is, and I'll throw it to Will in a second, is we've righted the wrong at Anfield. We've beaten them away from home for the first time. I don't know what it is, 40, 50 years. We beat Man United at Old Trafford for the first time in 30 years. We beat Brentford at their silly little stadium there yesterday to 0 as well. Like you said, it was a false dawn, their home record. We keep beating these teams. Everton, Spurs, Everton, Wolves, we haven't beaten in the Premier League yet since we've been back up. Can we right those wrongs? Do you think we can get those wrongs righted, Chief?
Yes, I would say, Wolves has always been a little tricky. That's the game I went to last year. They did finally, it seemed like they had a new manager bump today. I think they have good players. Like, I love Cunha. So that one will be tricky. I think Everton will try to make it a rock fight and make it the most boring Sean Dyche game of all time. But I think man for man, like on their team, which one of their guys is getting in this 11? 0? Or maybe the goalkeeper, but maybe. And so yeah, I think they can get some there. We'll see how we line up against Spurs with who's available with Dominguez. And is Gibbs White available or not? I feel like I've seen mixed reports on that.
Gibbs White, as far as I know, is available.
Then we got him. That's 9 more points. Just keep racking them up.
No, Gibbs White is available. Dominguez is not. Yates is on 4 yellow cards, and it resets after Everton, as far as I know. So we need Yates and Gibbs White not to get another yellow card. I think I'm correct in saying that. Okay. But yeah, Will, what do you think? You think we can keep this roll going, keep knocking the notches off the belt in the middle of all this, beat Luton in the FA Cup and bury their dreams like we did to Blackpool last season?
Absolutely. This is the season to do it. If we're ever going to put punishment on other teams, this is the season where we're a dominant force. Let's be honest. We're top 4 for a reason. The stats do not lie. The metrics do not lie. We are there by right, to be honest. We're better than Man City over the stretch because we've been more consistent than them. They've got an aging squad. We've got a young squad who are keen. They run harder. They're more bought into the project. They're not being crippled by victories and just there's boxers who have won too much and then they just don't have the drive for it anymore, and then they get punched in the face and they don't get up. That's Man City right now. They've not got it. They don't want it. That's what Morgan Gibbs White said, didn't he, when we played Man United last year at home? We all got in the huddle, and he was just like, "These guys, they don't want it. They don't want it." And that's Man City right now. So we don't have to fear them at all. I genuinely think that we are good for, I'd say, about 50-50 for Champions League.
Oh my God. It's just, can we believe this? No, it was not.
If I heard myself 6 months ago saying that, I'd have slapped myself in the face quite hard. It's ludicrous, but this is where we are right now. You've got to get on board the bus and ride it to the station.
Absolutely, and it sounds,
Barcelona away next year is going to be incredible.
Here we go. New camp.
No, but this is what we're dealing with right now. And I think like the expectations have to be recalibrated. Matt and I were on the Christmas special last week, talking about this and basically saying like, look, are we recalibrating these expectations? And we are, because now we're going to be disappointed if we don't make top 10. Depending on when the run ends, if it ends, we're going to be disappointed if we don't make top 8. And like, quite honestly, like, we've been hovering around 4th to 8th for a couple of months now. Like, we won 3 games in a row for the first time up in the Premier League when we beat Palace, Leicester, and West Ham. And everyone said, well, that was against those teams. We've done that again, going to Old Trafford away, beating Villa, a handy team at home, a very good team at home, and doing it late. And then now yesterday against Brentford, who everyone said we couldn't beat at their silly little stadium. So I think we do have to really think about this and go, right, if we're playing Wolves and Everton, we expect to win those games. And Spurs are missing players. We should be expecting to beat Spurs as well. Before we get away from the Brentford game completely, like, any takeaways from it, Chief? Anything that you noticed in the game that you thought, right, okay, this is, for me, it was Alanga, the momentum of his form coming back after the Villa game, scoring that goal. Was there anything else that specifically sort of took your breath away, or you thought, wow, what's going on here?
I first and foremost, I think we just have the right manager, where it's like, how do you want to play? You want to go attacking? You want to have 4 at the back? You want to be a little bit more reserved? You want to get the wing backs involved and play a back 3? Whatever way we want to line up, we can do it. So it's the formation that they used to close out games in the past. We started with it this time. It worked. So Nuno is just pressing all the right buttons. That to me was number one. And it did feel like, and maybe I'm sort of putting too much emphasis on that one run by Murillo, but the back 3 where he's allowed to just, like I said to you, like, let him open the gate. It's a pony in the pasture, just running through the middle of the field and spraying balls everywhere. He's great to watch when he knows he's got a little bit more security behind him. So really, however, to me, it was, man, we can just line up and play however we want, and we can surprise opponents. I don't think Brentford was expecting that. And so it's like, well, now what's their game plan going to be? So it does feel like my biggest takeaway from that game is Nuno's one step ahead. And that's a great place to be, that we can just do whatever we need to do to win. And we have the bodies and the depth to do it.
100%. And I've said this to you, Chief, and I said this to Will. I've watched Brentford do the same stuff over and over again for a year or two. 2.5 years ago, when they scored against us in our home ground, I think we drew with them, and Morgan Gibbs-White scored his first goal for us. They did that same ball into the middle. Jan Elter Damsgaard, someone threw it over the top. Wissa ran onto it, lobbed Henderson off his line. They did the same thing midweek. I think it was against Chelsea or Newcastle. No, Newcastle in the Cup when they lost. Chelsea as well last weekend. Same thing. Ball over the top for Mbemo. Ball over the top for Wissa. Ball comes in round the corner. First time over the top. They could not find that space in behind us. And it's because Nuno set up the way he did. We were all confused. I mean, I missed the first 20 minutes of the game, and obviously I've rewatched it since. And everyone was saying that Brentford were getting us. But since then, we were pretty much in control of the game. There was moments and spells Brentford had. But I felt like from 20 minutes onwards, we really came into our own. But when I rewatched it, I thought, well, okay, they did well. We were settling into that formation. But my gosh, was Nuno smart to hit that formation from the beginning, because there was no space in behind? What's your takeaway from the game, Will?
Yeah, so basically we played 5 at the back, right? Which for a start they weren't expecting from the get-go. They like to get their wingers wide and then get in the middle for tap-ins in the box. Essentially, they've got the best XG per shot in the league. So that means that they're taking shots from 5 yards out or whatever, 6 yards out, tap-ins, and they've got the best conversion rate. So they're good at it as well. They like creating shots from close range in front of goal more than anyone else in the league. So Nuno's had a look at that and he's gone, right, this becomes completely irrelevant if you're kept too far away to score. So we packed the defence. We rendered their attacking method completely redundant. We've just held them at arm's length. They've had 3 shots the whole game on target. Obviously, we had double that. The best analogy I can think of is say, for example, if Mike Tyson had a fight with Mr. Tickle. Chief, I'm not sure if you know who Mr. Tickle is. He's a Mr. Man with exceptionally long arms.
Okay.
You'll have to Google him.
Yeah.
But we basically just held their head with our long arms, like a bigger boy at school, like a big bully. They kept swinging, but they couldn't do anything. We kicked them in the balls twice, and that's game over. Like they couldn't get close enough, like consistently enough to put any sort of effect on our goal. And then we just hit them on the counter, and we did what we do best: Elanga's pace, Callum Hudson-Odoi's like ball carrying, Nico getting forward, and the wing backs getting forward and supporting our two wingers, and we just dominated them, and it was easy, wasn't it? Like as soon as we scored the second goal, I thought, well, that's it. We've already got Morato on. We've already got the fire blanket. He's just going to calm everything down. He's already on. We've got that 5 that we never concede from already on the pitch. We don't have to do anything. We can just sit back and absorb, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and we did.
Beautiful.
And
it was, and then you still have Dominguez and Yates to bring on to really shore it up. And it was like we can do anything. This team have a body and a role for every single game situation, it seems like. So it was beautiful to watch. Put your feet up. 70 minutes ago, the game's on ice. It was beautiful.
It's
I
class.
made myself a cup of tea. I was absolutely fine.
we have, the thing is we seem to, it's not just the Chris Wood show. We seem to have multiple ways of breaking teams down, capitalizing on their mistakes like Elanga did, fullback to fullback with the first goal, Williams across to Aina. Wood did have his chances. He had a great effort save from Flecken, really good save first half. So it just seems like we now have these multiple ways of breaking teams down, a few ways of playing and templates that we're throwing in and out of there. And I just think the ammunition off the bench is really causing teams problems, because we're coming in with Jota Silva or Taiwo or Souza, or, when Yates is rested, Dominguez rested, then they're coming on. It's just a nightmare for teams. And I think teams are underestimating our depth, and that's why we're doing so well. To keep this kind of form up, like we're talking here, Chief, about Champions League right now, and Europe at least, and top 10 at least right now in this moment. That's what we're thinking. In order to do that, we've got to keep this run up. We've won 7 out of 10 games. The ones we lost were against Newcastle, Arsenal, and City, decent sides, right? I know City have been on a bad run, but they have the talent. So we have to keep this run up. We can't, try and squeeze out draws. What do we need to do that? Like, do we need to strengthen in January? Do we need a couple of positions to strengthen, or will that affect the harmony with the team? Or what is it like? Do you think that we need to do to just keep pushing?
Yeah, it's almost like you don't want to mess with the chemistry too much, right? Like it seems like everybody is bought in. I wouldn't mind bringing in a young player if it made sense. Like I've seen them linked to these young Brazilian wingers that can also play as a striker in a different way than Taiwo would. I mean, sure. But I wouldn't really, you got the cavalry's coming with Danilo and Sangare. And it's like, we don't even use James Ward-Prowse. Like, how good is this team that are starting 6 and are starting 8 at the beginning of the year have missed basically every game. And we have a guy, James Ward-Prowse, the best free kick specialist in the league, can't get in the team even with the injuries and suspensions at times. So it's like, do you really want a surplus? I feel like the chemistry is good. Nuno has said he likes a smaller squad. It's going to get a little bit bigger naturally as guys get healthier. I don't think I would touch it unless it's a young player who will come over and bed in for 6 months for the run, and you can bring him on as a sub and use him in cup games or whatever. But the way it's going right now, I would just set it and forget it.
Yeah, maybe. So for me, like I can't think of a position that I would strengthen other than maybe a striker. Like, we have to be careful if something happens to Chris Wood. I still think Taiwo is actually good. I think he's a good striker and a really, really, able backup right now. And he wasn't a backup before. He was our starting striker prior to this. So I think he's really good, but we do need someone else just in case. Taiwo has an injury history himself. I think we need someone to come in, maybe some young, hungry striker. I would say on loan, but we're not a championship club anymore. We may as well just buy someone, bring them in, and herd them into the team. And if not that, like I was going to say, a backup number 6, because if Yates gets injured, obviously Sangare, we don't know what his timeline is. We don't know what his form is going to be like when he comes back. Hopefully it's good, but we seem to be a bit sparse there. Will, what do you think? Any ideas or?
So I can't imagine that James Ward-Prowse is going to stay with us after January. I think he's going to get recalled. Just because we've got Danilo and Sangare coming back in, he's already struggling to get in the team as it is. He's probably not delighted with that as a loanee. So he's probably going to leave. I don't think we have issues in midfield. I think we've got enough depth there. You've got to ask yourself the question of who they got injured would you find like to be very difficult to replace. For me, based on our squad, it's probably Chris Wood, maybe Hudson and Odoi, and I think that's probably it. Like, other than that, I think we've got backup for everyone. The fact that Nico and Aina can play both wings covers us essentially at fullback. We've got a ton of centre backs just lining up who are capable. Centre mid, we're stacked. Maybe Morgan Gibbs-White actually is you could argue is irreplaceable because he's essentially our best player. He makes us tick. Even then, though, you've got Anderson who can fill in to those shoes, or even Jota Silva at a push. I don't know. I don't think we need much. Maybe a striker. Maybe a third striker because Taiwo is probably. I don't know. Maybe something different to Taiwo. Because Taiwo and Wood, they're very similar in terms of they're both big men. Not target men. I wouldn't go as far as to say that, but like I don't know. Maybe like a young, pacey, sort of prolific striker who's got something to prove. That's all I can really think of. I don't think we need to tamper too much. I don't think we need to pay top dollar because it's January. But at the same time, the Brazilian season is done in January. We've got our little hooks in all the Brazilian players. Let's bring in the best one we can find and see how he goes.
Can I ask you guys a question? If something were to happen to Yates and Sangare doesn't come good, or his timeline is pushed back even further, wouldn't you just feel comfortable doing what we did yesterday as like your baseline setup, where it's like we'll just play five at the back, we'll have Gibbs White and Anderson just kind of play, hybrid 6 8s and 10s the whole way up the field, and I think I would be very content with that if something, God forbid, were to happen to Yates. I think that's still the formula for this team. Not even that, but like Dominguez, he can play 6, 8, 10. He can play on the wing. He can play anywhere. He's just a utility man. So you're right. I think we've got cover everywhere, and that's what makes this squad exciting. And knows how to play with all of them, and he knows how to put them in at the right time, use his substitutions. So if Yates goes, I mean, he probably had a knock from the week before, right? Because he went off at half time or just after half time. No, in fact, he lasted to 70 minutes, but he was injured, so he probably wasn't 100%. But Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White more than capable of just sitting in and just ball playing and just absolutely dominating that midfield essentially with their carries. So I'm not worried.
It depends for me on the severity of what the number 6's injury will be. So if Sangare's timeline is pushed back and Yates is out for, let's say, 2 months, then that 4-2-3-1 formation that we have becomes tricky. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not having any true 6s playing that role. Now, look, Danilo has played there before. Like you said, Dominguez can do it. And hopefully Sangare does come back and steps up again. I thought he was good the first 3 games of the season he played. But he's been out for quite a while. So it'll be take a bit of time to get up to speed. But it depends. But I would like that backup 6. But there's no point in...
You can only do so much though, Chris. You can only do so much. Like you can't legislate Yates getting injured, Sangare coming back and not being with it. You've just got to accept the players that you've got, and you can't just go and spend. Otherwise, because only a certain amount of, what was it, 20, 25 man squad? Mm-hmm. That's all. We've got enough players. They're more than capable. They've shown that. I don't think we need to do too much.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, hopefully we don't do too much, but hopefully at the same time we manage to keep those players injury free. It's usually this sort of time back into January we start to see the injuries creep in, so we've got a whole month to figure it out if problems happen, and if not, then great, we go into February, March, April, May with a run in and a full squad of healthy players. Spurs, let's do it. Let's talk about Spurs, because they played today. They conceded 6 goals at home. I don't know if you watched the Man United Spurs game during the week. I was in a pub with a Spurs bloke behind me and two Man United lads next to me, and it was just priceless. It was like this comedy of errors between the two teams, and the Spurs lad just was never felt safe about it because they Spurs. Man United fans were like, we're coming back into this, but they weren't really. Forster was making mistakes. It was one of the funniest cup games I've ever seen, and I really enjoyed it because my team, Forest, is usually well below these, but Forest was ahead of them. And I was just having to go back and forth trying to make bets with the Spurs fan. He was like, I'm not making a bet on one game. He was panicking. So it was great. I just wonder, like, they're there for the taking again, aren't they, Spurs? They are. They're missing players. They're missing Romero. They're missing Van der Ven. I don't think they're coming back. Vicario's out till around March. Jed Spence is great. I love him, but he's their backup sort of left back right now. Udogie might be back in time. But they look like they're conceding goals for fun, even though they're scoring goals for fun. Chief, do you think we're going to go ahead? I mean, you obviously do think we're going to go ahead and beat Spurs on Stephen's Day or Boxing Day. What do you think?
Yeah, at this point, I'm not surprised when they beat anybody. So, this is not the Harry Kane. What they play in the second or third game, the first promotion season, Harry Kane came in and they won 2-0, and it was never really in doubt. I think that, Forest, they're not favored. They're not favored, but they should be. Yeah, I will be betting that.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. You'll be taking it 2.5 and over. Go on.
Yeah, and you're right. Where it's like, I like Archie Gray, but I think he was playing like a center half. It looked like today. So I flipped it on late. So, but it was just like they don't seem like they have it, and it does seem like Big Ange's seat. And I love Big Ange, but his seat's getting hot, and you can't play this. They want to be on the front foot. They play that high line. Bring it on. I'd go 5 at the back again and just have Elanga out there and just spring them. And I think that we'll absorb the pressure and hit them on the counter and beat them like we beat every other team.
So yeah, you'd probably stick with the same formation as the Brentford game in order to stop the space behind, because they've got admittedly they've Kulusevski, Son, Solanke. They've got really good ball players. Brennan Johnson's fast. They've got some pace behind. But yeah. So you'd probably go with that formation, similar again to Brentford.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a tactics expert, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah. You're a fan, but still a fan. My only, I was watching the game today with my cousin against Spurs in Liverpool, and my only thing is, you're right, the space they can get in behind, but my only thing is they do have the technical players to break us down as well if we just sit in. So they have the Madisons, the Sons, Kulusevskis who are really technical and can try and break us down. But look, they're going to either come at us with the pace in behind and keep a high line, or they're going to try and break us down. So I don't think there's a wrong answer to strategy. There's certainly not a wrong answer with Nuno right now anyway, because he's just getting it bang on. Will, what would you do?
Hard to argue with anything that Chief says there, actually. I don't identify with back at all. They play with wingers. That will try and nullify that. But going back to your point, I was watching that Man United Spurs game in the Cup. It was like two clowns throwing custard pies at each other. It was ridiculous. I've got nothing to fear from either of those two teams. Like, the money that they've spent in the last 20 years, the money they've wasted, they're just dreadful teams. They shouldn't be in the top 6. It's only because they get to spend more than the rest of the league that they've managed to maintain that. If they did that 40 years ago, they'd be in League One right now. I'm not kidding you. They'd be nothing. They've just managed to sort of be in at the right time, and then they've solidified the position. However,
I can't stop laughing at just you just saying dreadful teams. They'd be in League One. It's just brilliant. We're talking about two teams that definitely consider themselves. That's fine. That's good. We're talking about two teams who definitely consider themselves on a higher echelon than Nottingham Forest. And I had one of my Man United fan mates pop in the group today. Oh, I wish I was a Forest fan at this stage. Literally saying that when he used to slag me off for being in League One. It's unbelievable.
Example of that. I mean, I love Brennan Johnson, but they've signed him for 50 million. We've replaced him with Elanga for 15 million. And he's probably on a par. So that's 35 million saved. It's just rinse these big boys of all their money. It's just ridiculous.
That's what feels so great, and it's so fitting for Nottingham. They're Robin Hood. We'll take Callum Hudson-Odoi from Chelsea. We'll take Elanga from Manchester United. We have all these guys that have a chip on their shoulder. That big Ola Aina he was a Chelsea guy. Taiwo was a Liverpool guy. We're stealing from the rich, and we're going right up the top of the table. It is written.
We're not poor anymore, though, Chief. Now we're not poor anymore. We're not poor anymore. We're the big boys.
You're right.
We are the top six.
I always say that too. I said this a lot last year when we got banged on PSR. And maybe this is the American in me, but it's like, who is the Premier League or whoever else, the EFL, to tell Marinakis how to spend his money? Abramovich or somebody else, if they decide I want to buy a 2-time European champion 25 years ago or whatever, Forest would have been in the top 6 the whole time. So this whole thing where it's like, oh, you can't spend the money that you want. I hope he splashes the pot again next summer for spite. Like, just go. Like, if you make Champions League, go reinvest again. Just spend all the money. We're the big dogs. You got 2 stars over that. Arsenal can't say that. What has Spurs ever won? This team belongs.
The best thing about Chief is he's actually exactly like what Matt is like in our group. Like, Matt is like, let's spend more money. Let's throw it in their faces. So it's I
don't want to do
great.
it now, though. I don't want to do it now. What I really want, I am spiteful. So I'm still mad about the PSR from last year. But
you can't be a football fan without being spiteful.
Okay, great. I love spite. I love spite. I love hate. Those are like my 2 favorite things in the world, especially when it comes to sports. But I do. The only thing I really care about for Champions League is qualifying so we can keep Gibbs White and Murillo, because I hated when we lost Jed Spence and James Garner and Brennan Johnson. Obviously, like I want, this team feels so special. I just want to keep it together as long as we can. And I feel like the only way to do that is to be in Europe.
I agree. And do you know what? I don't think Champions League is necessarily the be all. I mean, it is the be all and end up. But what I'm saying is, I think if we end up in any sort of European spot, it'll certainly give Murillo, or I think Murillo might be gone anyway, but it'll certainly give Murillo and Morgan Gibbs White the stance to, or the push they need to stay and say, you know what, we'll do one more year with Europe. I remember West Ham were losing Declan Rice at some stage, and they got into the Europa Conference League, and he said, you know what, I'll stay for one more year. Mm-hmm. And they won the Europa Conference League, and then he left after that, and it was the perfect time for him to leave. And I think that might be a similar thing, hopefully, with Murillo and Gibbs White, but we are dreaming, and it is brilliant. Last thing on Spurs, Will, what formation would you play, and what would you be looking to do to sort of break them down?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I'm sure Nuno will have a plan. I liked what Chief said about having a back 5 still and just absorbing, because they've got Van der Ven's out, right, and he's their quick centre back.
Yeah.
If we're going up against the likes of Ben Davis, I'm not too concerned. If Jed's playing, maybe he's got the pace to contend with Elanga. I don't know. Like, I think, yeah, just unchanged squad. Just bring it out again. We played so well. Let's just. Part of me thinks, yeah, just keep it. If it's not broke, don't try and fix it. Part of me thinks, we're at home. Let's just go toe to toe with them and just see if we can. I mean, they can't defend, can they? They're dreadful in defence. We are solid in defence. That's what we've learned. So we'll probably get more opportunities than them in front of goal. If we take them, I think we win.
Yeah, and I suppose the key. The key really is, I mean, you look at Spurs, they're one game on, one game off.
Kulusevski to be quiet.
Yeah, and like, but there's something about their mentality as well. They're one game on, one game off. They'll beat Southampton 5-0 away, and then they'll lose 6-3 to Liverpool. I know Liverpool are the top end and Southampton are the bottom end, but they beat Man City 4-0 away. They beat Man United 3-0 away. They'll do all this, and then they'll just completely capitulate at home and lose 2-1 to Ipswich, or lose away to a really poor Palace team at the time when they did. I'm tempted to go forward at the back, I am, because I want to kind of go toe to toe, but either way, Nuno will come up with a plan, switch it around halfway through the game, and give us a great talking to, because every time we come out after the second half, we seem to do well. We scored a goal against Brentford there just after the second half. I remember against Ipswich, we got that penalty, we were on top of them. Against Man United, we scored 2 goals. We're really good after the second half. Right, before we go, thanks for joining us, lads. You're absolute legends. And thanks for listeners for listening and watching and stuff. I know everyone's gone over the games and stuff, but like and subscribe if you can. Before we go, the very beginning of this season, I asked, we have a bunch of predictions that we did, and I know Will and Matt and me will go through all our predictions in a couple of weeks and see what we got right, see if we want to change them, see what we got wrong, and then we'll build up towards the pathway episode. But Chief, we'll start with you. Your points prediction at the beginning of the season, and I kind of like, I didn't scoff at it, but I'll be honest, I was like surprised, and I was like, it's the American hopeful, yeah, go for it, man. And I was like, yeah, he's been all American here. You said 50 points, and I didn't think it was ridiculous, but I did think, wow, that's a pretty optimistic points prediction. Do you want to recalibrate, and if so, what to?
Yeah, I'm disappointed in myself. I should have said 70. I should have said 75, whatever we need to get in that champion. So look I'm an optimistic guy. I just wasn't I didn't believe enough. So that's on me. I got to be better. But no, I thought that 50-55 was doable just because I thought with a full training camp and Milenkovic, like they would be better against. I thought fixing the set piece problem would be enough to make that big of a jump. And then they had all the injuries, and I thought they had. I didn't think anybody got screwed on VAR worse than Forest last year. Like there's that someone did a super cut of all the times where it's like, that's a penalty, the Boley red card. Like they had all these things go against them and the points deduction, and they couldn't defend a set piece to save their lives. So I'm like, if they figure these things out, if the luck kind of balances itself out, they'll be in a good spot. They're way better than I think anybody would have anticipated. But now it's like, I like you said on Forest Focus, what I've said here, this is what sports are about to me. Like, hey, this is an amazing story with a lovable team. Go for it. Now I want top four. I'm holding a ticket that if Forest wins the league, I get 15 grand. So I will be over for the parade. It will be funded by Forest basically through that bet. So I'm not I don't believe in setting limitations. Like if my heart gets broken, it gets broken. I'd rather be on the front foot and going for it emotionally and let the chips fall where they may. So yeah, I'll recalibrate. What's the average? I saw there's Forest Focus had that thing where it was like the
tracker.
The tracker, the Greg
European
Mitchell
tracker, the Greg Mitchell tracker. I think it was Janscape did it, but yeah. It was on
so
Forest
it's
Focus,
like 1.87 per game to get Champions League. So I don't know what that math turns out to, but I don't fear anybody. So it's hard for me to be like, oh well, it's hard for me to look at the fixtures and be like, that's a loss. Even Liverpool's coming into City Ground, early January, and it's like, I'm not like they're awesome. We've already beaten them. We can beat them at home. So I guess I say like 75.
I laughed. To be fair, I laughed at the beginning of the season, and now you were the one who is literally righting the wrong for me and laughing in my face, and you should be. Okay, I mean, go for that is Leicester have almost won the league on that. No, they won it in 80 something, I think. But no, let's stick with that. Who cares? If you said to us we would be on, what are we on, 31 points right now? If you said to us we would be on, I think it's 31 points right now. If you said we'd be on 31 points right now at the stage, loads of people would have been laughing at the beginning of the season, and they're not laughing now. They're not laughing now. They're all quiet. They're all as quiet on the Western Front, in Man United, in Tottenham, Newcastle, the G-Tech stupid stadium that they have. Everyone is quiet because no one is laughing at us now. We're fourth.
And
go ahead.
I think the Villa game is where I really clicked in, where it's like, this team is never out of it. That any other year, any other team, you get one taken away, they get one immediately thereafter. Then and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, they didn't have Martinez made that incredible save. So it's like, oh my God, I can't, So then they score and we're down 1-0. Then you have the tying goal taken away by, a millimeter. Yeah. So that I think any other team is just like, it's not our day. Forest is like, we're winning this game. And then they go out and do it. So I just believe in them. I believe in the heart and the character of this team there. It's just like they're young. They all seem to have a chip on their shoulder. It's like, they don't even I wonder if they know that they're not supposed to be doing this. And I think that's like a dangerous and a great place to be, where they're just too young. They're just playing. And it's like, just keep going. It feels like they don't understand the pressure of where they are, which is beautiful.
100%. And you got to dream. And I don't even know if I can come up with what my recalibrated points prediction are. But Will, you had 42 points, which was still high, by the way. Like it would have been higher than we've ever had before.
No, that sounds really bad. That's 3 wins away.
Yeah. But like
they're
that's
3 weeks away. They're 3 weeks away.
Yeah, exactly that.
What we do every season, Chief, is we've done it since we've had about 4 or 5 seasons, I think, maybe more. And this is probably our 5th or 6th season. But we've pretty much every year we did like first one was the pathway to playoffs, the next one was pathway to survival, the next one was pathway to survival. We do it at the end of January, and basically me, Matt, and Will go through every game and think what we can get, win, lose, or draw, and Will averages out the points, and it leaves us at a certain point. We go, did we survive? Did we not? Based on the average. It's actually a really good episode. It's my favorite. I'm looking forward to it. Now we're looking at doing pathway to Europe. That's what it's going to be. Hopefully, it might be pathway to top 10 by then, but hopefully it'll be pathway to Europe. And Will always adds them up. You picked 42 points at the beginning of the season. Are you recalibrating now, and what to?
Well, yeah, obviously I'm recalibrating. I mean, I'd be the most negative person if I was like, no, I think we'll do well to get 42 points. I do like Chief's optimism there. 75 is, so the Leicester season when they won it with 81 points. Arsenal came second with 71 points. So just for that, I mean, we're talking like in a season like this where everyone's taking points off each other, that's probably a second place finish, 75 points, which, you know, I'd love that. That'd be great. I'm not quite as optimistic, unfortunately. I've seen a lot of Forest. I just can't, in my heart of hearts, believe that we can do that. However, I am going to be optimistic, relatively speaking. So we're nearly halfway through the season. We're on 31 points, right? Let's just double that. If we just keep going on what we're doing, that's pretty good. I'll take that. 62 points takes us to. I think that's top 5. I think we get top 5 with 62 points, right? Or there or thereabouts.
Possibly,
I think you're right this year for sure.
Might be Champions League. 5th might get Champions League as well. If the English teams do well in Europe, 5th might get the Champions League as well. So
yeah, should do.
That
so
could
I
be,
reckon you can sneak into the Champions League. That's my prediction. I don't know what the points would be for that. I haven't gone back through the seasons and had a look, but I reckon 62 to 65 points. That's what I'm saying, and I think that's very gettable. Because, you know, at the start of the season we didn't know what we were. Now we know what we were. This confidence, we didn't have that confidence at the start of the season. Now we do. We have that weight of not expectation, but weight of performance behind us. You know, we know that we can beat Liverpool. We know that we can beat Man United. We know that we can beat Villa. We've mixed it with the big boys, and it's not like we've been embarrassed. In fact, we've bloodied some noses, and I expect us to do it some more in the rest of the season. So yeah, 65. Let's go there.
Look, 65. You've just gone from 62 to 65 right there. No, but it's not.
That's
it's
23
great.
extra points from the start of the season.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead.
I saw a graphic. Sorry, I saw a graphic that was, 2022-23 season. They finished with 9 wins. Last year, they finished with 9 wins. They're on 9 wins right now. So
season, and it's not even Christmas. It's crazy. It's just mental. Like, you don't see this level of like, I thought, progressive games. We've just gone through the roof, basically. We've just lit the fuse paper and we're away. And we've got to do it this season, because if we don't capitalize now, it's going to be hard to capitalize next season if we lose players. So let's just go hell for leather. Let's just go all out. And let's just try and get as many points as we can and just try and win every single game. Let's not try and play for draws. Let's just try and get 3 points against everyone.
That's the thing. We haven't drawn a game in 10. We've won 7 out of 10 as a result of doing that. Let's keep going for that. Let's aim for the 3 points every time. For me, the biggest thing is our bounce back ability, if that's even a word. Like, every time we lose a game or lose 2 games, we seem to come back and then go for wins. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We lost Newcastle, Arsenal, Man City were in between an Ipswich win that Will and I were at. And it felt like, okay, these bigger games are coming now. No, we'll go to Old Trafford and we'll beat them. No, we'll take Aston Villa at home at the end of the game. We're bouncing back from losses with wins and a few in a row. And that's what's going to keep us there. And if we can keep bouncing back, we definitely can make top 5, top 6. So
Chris, what's your points prediction?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do this. I want to do this on the pathway. I didn't want to put myself in the line of fire. No, I will.
Go on.
I think we will finish with. So we're near the second. So we've got 2 games before halfway. I think we'll win at least one of those. So it's Spurs and Everton. 34. I think we'll get a little less in the second half of the season than we did. I think we'll go through a little bit of a rough patch January, February, but I think we'll finish the season strong. I'm going to go with 61 points. And actually, I believe that will be what we finish on. And I believe where teams are taking points off everyone, that'll be enough to get us in top 5. And I think that the English teams will do well enough that the coefficient rankings will get us there. And I think 5th will get us Champions League. That's where I'm going right now. We'll get to the pathway and we'll do that another time. Go ahead.
I love it, Chris, but that is the most pessimistic out of the 3 of us. Just FYI.
Out of the 3 of us, yeah, but that doesn't make me pessimistic. 61 points is still crazy optimistic, no? Isn't that?
It is, but even like when they dropped that game against Arsenal, there's no Gibbs White and there's no Anderson. So True. It's like when the games that they've dropped, it's not like they played a full strength Forest. Like they had Odegaard back that game. Saka was out. Like now Saka. I mean, I know he's got some catastrophic injury every game, then he pops up and he's fine. But he's off on crutches with a hamstring problem. So who knows what that means for their attack, which has been abysmal, I would say, by their standards. Anyway, so it's not like I don't think the top 3 is settled. I think third, Liverpool and Chelsea look pretty strong. But are you believing in, can they do corner ball for the whole year and finish top 3? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, they've got history. They've got history. Yeah. They've got previous Arsenal. They crumble under any sort of pressure.
They are utter and sheer bottlers. That is what they are. That is their makeup. That is what they are made of. They haven't been the team that they should be since 20 years when they did the Invincibles that they keep banging on about. Okay, but like they've never won the European Cup. They'll crumble under pressure. Yeah, they'll never sing that. They are mentally weak. They are mentally weak, and we've seen it time and time again with them. And to be honest, do you know what's going to catch up with them? They're in all these other cup competitions. They're in the semi-final of the League Cup. They've FA Cup 3rd round against Man United coming up. That'll be a bit of a battle. They're in the Champions League and they're going for that. They're fighting on all fronts at all times. And as that title gets further and further and further away from Arsenal, the motivation is going to drift down and they're going to start thinking, what are we actually doing here? We've done 2 massive years where we should have won the league and we didn't do it. And that could be the chance to capitalize for the mighty Nottingham Forest, because we might just do it. You never know. That's it, folks. Anything else you want to say? Any plugs? Anything you want to say? Pitch picks. Let's do that first. Chief, pitch picks. Tell them where it's at.
Yeah.
Will was complimenting Chief. It wasn't recorded, but he was complimenting Chief on pitch picks. I watch it. Will watches it. It's great.
That means a lot to me because it is like a passion project that we're just starting. Like we're not making any money off of it. We do all the editing and everything ourselves. So so it is, we just do it because we like to do it. So I'm glad people enjoy it. We kind of just, even if nobody listened, I like talking to those guys and having the banter. So we have 2 Arsenal fans, a United fan, a City fan, and then me. And this year especially has been fun because I get to take the piss out of them because we're in Champions League spots and they're shambolic for the most part. So it's been great. So I really enjoy doing it. So thank you guys for listening. And it's on, I tweeted out, it's on the Barstool Gambling YouTube, and we're trying to give it a go. So we got a little runway here through the 2026 USA World Cup. So we're trying to grow it in the next year and a half. But if it is what it is right now, I'm fine with that too. I really enjoy the show, and it's becoming my favorite league to watch and to talk about. There's so much drama on the field, off the field, so unpredictable. So I love doing it. So I appreciate you guys giving the compliment and the time to listen.
Oh, of course, man. And I think one of my favorite things about it is the genuineness of the commitment and the passion for football. Like, it's very easy to get protective over the sport that you've watched your whole time, being from the UK or Ireland, like, or anywhere in Europe, because it's our beloved football or whatever, or as you guys call it, soccer. But like watching, like, I think it was Nicky Smokes was talking about how, like, whatever happens with Arsenal, he's all in on the Premier League now, and he just loves football, and he's obsessed with it, and he's become obsessed with that sport. And soccer, football is a very different sport to the sports that they're handed out there in North America. I used to watch a lot of basketball, and I got all in on that eventually, even though it's a totally different sport. A lot it's a stop-start. So yeah, I just think it's cool. You've really genuine, honest stuff, and it's fun. So people, like whoever's watching or listening, we get more listeners than watchers, but just do check out Pitch Picks. It's really, really cool. Will, do you want to give a shout out to anyone? Maybe even Matt down in Thailand. Give him a shout out as he's listening.
With regard to Pitch Picks, the best way I can look at it is if you ever had a Man United fan in your school growing up, or an Arsenal fan, and I guarantee you did. It's just wonderful to hear Chief Nottingham Forest fan just absolutely rinsing them week after week after week, relentlessly, and that is what I wanted to do all of my childhood. And Chief, you get to do it, and it's a lovely thing. So if you can live vicariously through Chief, then do so and listen to it. Yeah, in terms of Matt, he's in Thailand for 4 weeks. I don't think he needs any kind of shout out. He's living the dream, isn't he? So, I mean, I'm in England. It was horrific, sleety weather today. It went dark at about 3:30. It's the darkest day of the year yesterday. It's pretty grim, but it's nearly Christmas, so no shout outs particularly. Sorry, Matt, but yeah, have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, well, it's not too dark because Forest are top 4. We'll lift it back up, but I get what you're saying. He's down in Thailand living the dream. That's it. Follow us at forestallover on Instagram or at NFFC all over on X. You can go to forestallover.com if you want. Like and subscribe to this. If anyone got this far, I don't usually do this, but this weekend my grandfather passed away, and my cousin's a Forest fan. It's also his grandfather, so I'm gonna give a big shout out to my cousin James. And that's it. Yeah. Let's keep dreaming top 4, boys. It's going to be unbelievable.